And once again, huge thanks to the Swiss National Bank, them being supporters, speakers, and contributors to our conferences all around in the past years, as well as this time. And we're very proud, obviously, to have the Swiss National Bank on our side. Next up, we'll be flipping the script. Traditional banking for Web3 companies. So we kind of try to take an angle from the left, an angle from the right, and now it's the time for traditional banking for Web3 companies. On stage, you'll have from Merki Baumann, Milko Hensel. You'll have from Inco Bank, Katie Richards. Next up, you'll have from Aurelio, Milos Tokic, then from Amina Bank, Pavel Yakovlev, and last but not least, moderating will be the founder of the Web3 Banking Symposium and board member of the Crypto Valley Association, Ilya Volkov. Please welcome on stage. Put your hands together. You need to come on stage, right? All right, and please take seat in the order of the pictures to make it easier for the audience, right?
Luckily, we don't need slides. Okay, so traditionally, let's start from quick round of introductions. So Katie, please.
Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see everyone here. This is a pretty exciting panel because there's conflicts and challenges on this topic, and I hope that we'll be able to clear some of them up and enlighten you a little bit about what banking looks like and what good looks like for both sides of the world that we're trying to bridge. So I've been in crypto since 2017, and I've had the great luck to work in different size institutions, from private banks to crypto hedge fund to large US banks, and now I'm at Incor, where we're a bank for bank. So it's a fintech transaction bank. We serve a very special niche, and it's great to be on this panel to be able to share some of the learnings that I've gathered over the years.
Hey everybody, my name is Pavel. I'm with Amina Bank, and I think I need to put in a little disclaimer that whatever I say is actually, you know, we're in Switzerland, so we're able to talk about certain things, and we only serve professional and institutional clients. My legal colleague Veronica is in the audience, so I have to be very careful in terms of what I say. But also a big thank you to the organizers, Ilya, incredible organization, wonderful attendance. Thank you everybody for coming. Making it at 8 o'clock in the morning to Lugano. We're blessed with the sun. And also Robert, who was just before us, what an incredible innovation that the Swiss National Bank is creating. So for me, as somebody who is incredibly deep in the innovation space, and for those of you who know me, you know, privately and professionally, you know that I've been in crypto for a long time. I'm, you know, a DeFi aficionado, so to say. I don't want to use any other words that are commonly used in the industry, but and it's an incredible pleasure and honor to work with Amina and just seeing how the bank is developing, the way that it's handling innovation, where it's finding kind of new avenues and figuring out what is the real kind of place for a digital assets first bank as things are evolving, as we're seeing, you know, more and more challengers come up. I'm sure everybody have seen, you know, the Revolut launching something pretty interesting, but yeah, a bit of a long-winded introduction, but
thank you, Pavel.
I'll pass on to my colleagues.
Hi there, my name is Milos Tokic. First, I also would like to thank Ilya for giving all of us the platform and this event. I think last year was awesome for me, kind of a turning point in the whole space, the entire conversation around regulation, how to make crypto understand banks better, but also banks understand crypto better. For me, was really the key event last year, and very happy to be here. As sort of the newcomer, I guess most people don't know really or haven't heard much about it. We are a fintech. We have a FINMA fintech license, meaning we are a fully independent payment institution. We don't have a partner bank. We keep client funds at SMB, and we're not trying to be the next Me Too product like Revolut. our USP and what we bring to the table is around the topic compliance, and we have automated a lot of complex compliance tasks, which enables us to onboard a target segment which has some characteristics, be it geography, exposure, or UBO structures, or industry. And one of the key verticals we have is the Web3 industry, which typically triggers enhanced due diligence. We'll speak later about it. And that's where we position ourselves. Sort of DNA is certainly in the Revolut type of neobank, but for a, I would say, more complex and premium segment, and maybe we'll have opportunity to speak about what makes these guys more complex and how it can be handled. Thank you.
Thank you, Milos.
Yeah, my name is Mirko Hensel. I work for Mackie Baumann, Swiss private bank. I think I'm the most traditional representative, of the oldest company here on the panel. We were founded in 1932, and 6 years ago we started to go into this crypto world, not totally knowing what we should expect, but it was a fun and adventurous voyage, I have to say. And I had to develop the strategy, had to implement it, and now I'm part of the team that manages and services clients on the corporate side, but also on the private client side.
Yeah, thank you. So, a quick intro from my side. I have actually two roles in addition to my Crypto Valley Association position. So, of course, I'm managing our company, Hodler, which is fintech company, which is CASP or VASP, you can call it in different ways. So, I'm also serving as an ambassador of Canton of Vaud in Switzerland. So, I remember it was not an easy to get our first bank accounts. Like 6-7 years ago, because we are a crypto native company. It was not an easy to get into banking relationships. And speaking about this cantonal work, quite often we have some cantonal meetings. And almost every single meeting starts with a problem. Like, Canton has some KPIs to get new business coming to the country, coming to the region. And the problem is that even not for blockchain companies, even not for crypto companies, it's not an easy to get an account. And there is a big contradiction. Like, country has some KPIs to get more businesses, but banks are not providing new businesses with accounts. So this is the problem. And let's maybe dive deep and discuss it in more details. So Katie, what is the difference between traditional business and Web3 blockchain business, if there is a difference in terms of banking relationships?
There's quite a significant difference because blockchain and DLT basically bring in a new risks. I mean, and they're unique risks that have to be taken care of, and that also leads to more regulation. And so that sort of, we can break that down into sort of 3 different areas where there are differences. And the first one is going to be due diligence. And you mentioned that just before. There is an enhanced due diligence because of these risks. And one has to then also, from a regulatory standpoint, follow the DLT Act. And particularly, I think it's important to understand from a bank's perspective in general, banks are obligated to follow a particular, some frameworks to allow them to be in the game, to have their license. And they sort of revolve around the what's called CBD. Mm-hmm. And basically that's a code of conduct on running the business and for due diligence. And there's also AMLA, which is the AML, sort of Anti-Money Laundering Act. Because as a bank, we are required to ensure we understand where money is coming from and know our clients, and this helps preserve high equity in the financial industry. So those are sort of some key areas. And the third one is risk management. Banks, they have to preserve their capital and their reputation. And when we're working with companies in the Web3 space, we're basically taking on their processes and their clients. So we absorb them. And so banks need to understand the risks, and Web3 companies really need to explain how the money works, or how the money moves, what their business is, and who their counterparties are to get comfortable And that's where you mentioned, you know, we might have great DLT laws, but that doesn't mean that each bank feels comfortable because they may not have the knowledge, and they may have different risk appetites, because they have to fundamentally understand how the business works in order to open up an account and help their clients move money.
Yeah, thank you. And Milka, question to you as a traditional bank. So what are like key requirements for Web3 companies, requirements to get on board at a traditional bank?
And basically, what we need is transparency and openness from our clients, that they share all information that we require, that as Katie just said, share this with us. And where we really get hesitant is when a potential client tells us, that's not part of your business, I don't have to share this, this is not necessary by legal requirements, and then this raises a red flag on our side, because we offer our good name, our accounts to this company, and we expect cooperation with them. And of course, I also understand that the fundamentals of digital assets is privacy and independence of banks, etc. But if you want to work with a traditional bank, you have to overcome this and say, okay, I have to play along the game and I have to cooperate. Otherwise, it doesn't work. But to be honest, most of our clients are very cooperative and very helpful and open and supportive. So we hardly have any really hard discussions on that.
Yeah. Banking relationship is not like a monolith, right? So banking service is quite different. So we can even go into different layers, like capital payment accounts, operational accounts, and accounts for end users of blockchain companies. So could we please just dive a bit deeper into every single layer here? So Milos, maybe a question to you about capital payment accounts. How easy is to get a capital payment accounts for a newly born Web3 company? What are like key things to show to the bank?
Well, it's actually not a rocket science. So in Switzerland, for the ones who are maybe from abroad, if you want a limited company or a public limited company, you need GmbH or AG, you need like a capital payment account that you show to the commercial register. And it can be either a fintech like us or a bank that issues this paper that you show to the commercial register. So that is, for Web3 companies, already this can be a roadblock because most banks don't even touch. If in the company purpose there is like anything like crypto, DLT, or any of the key terms, they'll say, go somewhere else. So that they hit our pipeline, and the due diligence for the capital payment account is fairly light because you want to keep it short and sweet because most companies don't have any risk and you don't want to put the burden on all of them. This imposes some risk actually for the founder, and that's why I would like, because it's quite common that Web3 founders, they get the capital payment account and then surprise, surprise, they will not get the operational account. So if you're a small team, you don't have millions of funding, you're suddenly in the situation where 100K are stuck in a blocked account and you cannot move anywhere because you will not find any bank opening you an operational account. And that is something to be aware of, that due diligence for capital payment account for most, if not for all institutions, is a separate due diligence. You will then look at a much more enhanced due diligence for the operational account because blocked account is less risky. You cannot do much. You pay in the money, it's in there, and it will be released later to operational account. So,
yeah, so let's dive deeper into operational accounts. Milko, what are like your day-to-day processes with serving operational accounts to Web3 companies?
Just in order to transfer this from, for instance, a capital payment account into a corporate operating account, we really need to enhance due diligence. We need to understand the flow of funds. We need to understand the structure of the company. Where does the money come from to grow the company? Are there investors expected? If yes, where do they come from? Who checks the investors? Where does their money come from? Then also, if this is all fine and we got all the details, the paperwork for identifying people and companies, we work very closely with the client to see what the flow of funds will be. what money comes in, where does it come from, what purpose is it used for, and where does it go to. Basically, these are the main challenges. Often for new start companies, it is difficult for them to tell, oh, I don't know how many transactions I have, and I'm not sure if I win clients more easily in Switzerland or in Germany or in Italy. And so this is, of course, a vague thing, and we are experienced enough to understand that it is guesswork in the beginning. If you start a new company, you can't know the future. But we also track it against the business plan that they have. Does it materialize? And we are always happy if a client comes to us and say, look, this didn't work out. We have to change it. Can we still use the account for different purpose? And usually it's okay. But if out of a sudden transaction patterns change and you have payments coming in from whatever country, then it's surprises are not very nice for us. We like to be informed in advance.
Yeah, thank you. And Katie, you mentioned that InCore is a bank for banks, and I believe bank for fintechs, right? So you provide also your clients with accounts for end users, right? So you already said that it's important to understand the entire business model. But are there any other tips to companies who are looking for end user accounts?
Well, we service banks, financial intermediaries, and corporates that have history. And I think that's the problem. You want a bank account. Banks like to have folks that come in with experience and track record, and so it's the chicken and egg question. Unless you've been in the business for a long time and maybe not crypto related and then decide to do the business, you still have a good track record. So track record is key. Now for us, we like to work with banks or entities that are FINMA regulated or in their own country regulated, so regulated entities. Or if you are a financial intermediary, that you're part of an SRO, so a self-regulated organization. Again, this gives comfort because you know that the counterparty that you have is regulated and audited on a regular basis and are required to adhere to good AML and KYC processes. So key for us, again, is know your client. Because we offer payments and correspondent banking, it's important for us to understand our clients, again, knowing where the money flows to, because as a correspondent bank to do international transfers with the banks that we work with, well, banks anywhere in the world, they need to ensure, again, that AML and KYC is done and that we can identify the beneficial owner. So it might feel uncomfortable for some Web3 companies, or fintechs, but the more that you can understand your business and your clients and the more comfort you give, and as Milko said at the beginning, it's very hard to know where your business is going to come from when you get going because Web3 is global. And you have to understand those jurisdictions. And there's monitoring, and banks have to monitor where those cash flows are going, which adds additional complexity when it's going to different jurisdictions where may not have the toughest compliance. So again, it's all about risk management.
Yeah. So end user accounts are not for kids, right? Okay, so Pavel, Amina is a crypto bank, right? Crypto native bank. And I believe it's not just about accounts, any kind of. It's also about different kind of services like staking, custody, lending. So could you please give us a bit more idea? So what kind of services crypto native bank can provide to its users?
Again, I think, referring to the initial disclaimer.
Sure.
The way that we see this, everything for us starts with custody, right? So we have two products over there, the deep cold, everything is segregated, and then the hot wallet infrastructure, and then on top of that you effectively have a staking module, right? We currently have 6 different protocols in which our clients are able to stake into. We're offering, pretty, I'd say, industry standard rates on that, and then when it comes to some of the other services, it's obviously trading. So any money flow between digital assets and fiat is available within the bank. Any type of lending demand that we have as well is another interesting product that we have. And then we're obviously expanding our vision in terms of, okay, can we provide professional node operating services as well? Are we able to support the up-and-coming or existing protocols as a serious digital custodian and an institutional staker or staking service provider, so to say? Yeah, and we're also pretty excited about our latest service for the Web3 startups, which I'm sure we're going to touch upon. And I'm also pretty excited to see that we're pretty much within the benchmark when it comes to the due diligence and seeing how, if you look at it from the example of a regular crypto company, right? So oftentimes there's a very complex structure. There's also a funding which has undergone like an ICO type raise. So all of that raises questions within the due diligence. Where did the money come from? Were the investors KYC'd properly? Did you do it within the jurisdiction that actually has necessary regulatory framework? So all of that needs to be considered. And once I would assume you go through that, and open up the operating account, then we really truly get to know you as a client, and we somewhat feel comfortable with having the business. But yeah, again, as a domain expert, we've been doing this for the past 7-8 years, and we'll also do this with some of our peers in the banking industry, so we also help them decipher some of the more difficult cases.
Thank you, interesting. So, unfortunately, dollar is still main currency for crypto, right? If we all go to CoinMarketCap, we see that all cryptocurrencies are linked to dollar. And here's the problem, right? Katie, you already mentioned corresponding bank account services. So, and I believe that dollar remains very tricky service, right? So could you please maybe give us some insights on what is happening with correspondent banking in dollars?
I think let's touch on two topics, just the general aspects to US dollar payments and correspondent banking, because most people aren't thinking about what that really means. And then we can dive into some of the intricacies about Web3, and wanting to move money, for Web3 companies with US dollars. So there's a lot of requests we get also for US dollar rails. So what is correspondent banking, and what are some of the issues around that? I think one of them, again, is each bank, regardless of if it's anything related to Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, we'll come to that second, is you're moving value, you're moving the US dollar around the planet, and you're moving it in different jurisdictions. And each jurisdiction can have different levels of compliance standards. So problem number one. Different jurisdictions, could be more high risk. And that's a problem number two, because banks can decide if you want to send money to a higher risk jurisdiction. And so for Web3 companies, they have to keep that in mind, or anybody's company has to keep that in mind. The other thing is operational. In some cases, depending on where you're transferring your money to, you cross different financial intermediaries. So many hands in the mix, it takes time. And we all know that banks are limited, they're not open 24/7, so you also have the compound of different time zones and only so many hours in the banking day. So it's not straight through and it's not 24/7, so time is also an issue. And then when we start to overlay some of the things about working with DeFi and crypto companies, there again, we've already discussed, it has innate new risks. And banks don't like risks and want to hedge themselves. So they can pick and choose, who they want to, move money around for and where. And in addition, you also have the interoperability by Web3 setups. They use, blockchain that doesn't necessarily talk to traditional payment rails. And then there's the cost factor. It's not just a press of a button. We're not moving USDT. It's not DVP. It's not just there at the minute. There's the transaction fees. There's the fees for SWIFT. And then there could be FX on top of that. So it's costly to move dollars around the planet.
But we have to, unfortunately, right?
It's a necessary evil. And so again, it's transparency in your business, and it's also choose your jurisdictions carefully, you know.
Yeah. Thank you. So we have just 3 minutes left. During our preparations for the conference, we had a very interesting discussion with City of Lugano. So, and our colleagues from Lugano said that we definitely should invite fintech company to that panel to join traditional banks. Because, quoting from City of Lugano, fintechs are like a young generation of bankers who are challenging traditional banks, right? So, Miloš, question to you. What's the difference and what's the limitation speaking about working with fintechs compared to banks?
Okay, good. Now I know how I deserve the seat here, and I'll say thank you to Paolo. To make it super simplistic, already 10 years ago, what was fintech? They picked out, you had universal banks that did things the traditional way, manual workflows, you push PDFs and forms, you go to the branch, and the challengers, they said, okay, let's pick one piece of this spectrum, be it trading, be it just, you know, normal current account. Let's make it intuitive, let's standardize, let's automate, let people use it themselves so they don't need somebody who sits at the desk and helps them out. I think that was 10 years ago, and now I think traditional banks become more digital, more fintech, and the fintechs become more complex. They broaden their offering. It's, if you ask me, not intuitive in all cases now when you have 50 buttons to push. I think we all spread across this topic, but Relio being more on the fintech side, we also try to automate many topics that we discussed right now. So on one hand, yeah, crypto is different, but the core principle is the same. Who is the owner of your business? What is the source of your funds? How do you plan to make money tomorrow? And usually you would go there and speak to a very qualified 10, 15-year work experience banker who knows which questions to ask, and you need to know much more about Web3 to ask the right questions. And we automated a big chunk of this work, so basically nobody here, I don't know how many are business owners, but not a single one of you would get the same onboarding at Relio. We have more than 4,000 questions, and it will trigger maybe 30, 40, 50 questions based on your industry. If you're in real estate, it triggers 20 real estate questions. Do you buy property? Do you rent it? Do you take cash deposit? If you're in crypto, it will ask topics like, yeah, was there an ICO, or is there a token generating event? Is it a payment token, utility token? And the words that were used today a lot was like trusts, history. And we as a newcomer, of course, that's nice, but not all customers have that. So we, in Germany, say trust is good, control is better. So we capture structured data. So we ask you, what is your token? What's your business model? Which countries do you interact with? And then we'll tailor the monitoring to each customer. So our transaction monitoring for client A that interacts with the US or, you know, countries even in the global south. If it makes sense, it's plausible, we say this is fine, then we're confident to onboard them because our monitoring system will notice. So in short, automation, it should be faster, but limitation is it's a bit more rigid because you guys can then, you know, you can really tailor-make your process, and also your offering is much broader. If you need lending products or very complex financial instruments, then a fintech's probably not the right place to go.
It sounds like there is no much difference. Milko, would you like to maybe add a few words? Is there a difference compared to traditional bank?
Basically, we are, as Miloš said, we are a little bit more flexible on reacting directly on the reply. And if a client says, I don't know it, or I don't have this at hand at the moment, I have to check it, then we can make an impromptu solution for that for time being. And I think on the technological side, you get to a difficult area when you have very complex structures. We have clients that have 3-4 layers of holding companies and including trusts and 7 different jurisdictions. Then this is really also a challenge for us and to our compliance, but still we can handle it and do it in a manual way. Basically, it all boils down to what Minu said, and I would love to, if we had a pre-screening like that, automated, our clients still have to fill in questionnaires and send it back to us, but the questions are basically probably go in the very same direction.
Yeah, cool. So unfortunately, we run out of time. So just very briefly, what would be the next step for relationships between blockchain companies and banks? Just question to all of us. So Katie, just...
I think if we dial forward, we also talked about it this morning, still the morning, earlier this morning. I think we're going to live in a hybrid world when it comes to, like we have now, you're going to have classic banks, fintech banks like an Incor, you're going to have digital banks like Relio, and everyone on the panel here, there's a clientele for us, and I think the key is do your shopping, find the right bank for you that has the services that cater to your particular business model.
We see a lot of convergence, hybrid way, as Katie mentioned. There's a lot of interesting things happening with some of our friends at Matter Labs and the stuff that they do in the ZK Sync ecosystem, trying to bring a lot of the banking infrastructure actually on chain through private subnets, and at the same time we're also seeing the incredible advancements of what MasterCard is doing with crypto credentials. That's just phenomenal. I sat through a presentation
they
a
will
week
be speaking
ago,
soon today,
and I was just like, you've just destroyed all the bridges and all the oracles. You don't need that anymore. So I see this as a convergence, and in the end, it's all assets. It's just the technology that is different. So yeah.
Thank you, Milos.
Try to be quick. I think there's one more soft dimension. It is what I see actually since the last symposium. The clients that come to us in the meeting, it used to be like a die-hard crypto guy, founder, I don't want to tell you anything. Today, he sits there with a compliance officer or AML officer who speaks kind of our language. On the other hand, we try to speak their language, so it's the soft thing, the understanding. And the more, let's say, hard convergence is that we on our side try to build product for them. They say, we want to keep segregated customer funds on your account, give us virtual IBANs, give us a good API. So I think it grows together in terms of software and the solutions that we build, but also in a more common understanding of why we ask the questions and why it's important to understand them.
Again, no more kids coming, right?
From our perspective, I think we have 2 things to add. One is we listen much more to our new clients than to the old ones, because they are the future, and they will shape banking in a different direction than most traditional banks believe. We will be reduced to a kind of service provider that is there if the client wants to, and it's not us that explain the client what he has, what he needs. And on the other side, to be very frankly, traditional banks are not there to solve startup problems. We are not the distribution arms of potential fund distributors and things like that. We are just here to serve our clients. We are not a sales platform for Web3 startups.
Thank you. So we don't have time for questions, but we will have, I think, a lot of opportunities during day today. We will have apéro, so we all stay here till the end, right? So feel free to ask questions in the flexible format during the day. So guys, thank you, and big thank you to the panelists.
Thank you very much.